Well, another item checked off President Trump's to-do list. The Department of Education is being dismantled. This is a dream come true for conservatives, but that dream could turn into a nightmare for red states. I'll tell you why. Hi there. Trump has always said that he had nothing to do with Project 2025. Remember that one? The conservative blueprint that proposes sweeping changes to the federal government, to the U.S. economy, and in some cases, our way of life. One of its ideas, here it is on page 319, concerns the Department of Education. The Department of Education has its roots in the 1960s, springing up from President Lyndon Johnson and the Civil Rights Act of 1965. Conservatives have long hated the Department of Education, complaining, among other things, that it took power from the states. But did it really? You be the judge. The Education Department actually has a pretty small role in how education works across the U.S. School policy is and always has been generally made at the state and local level. And the federal government provides just 14% of all K through 12 spending. That's according to figures from the Education Data Initiative. So it's not like the Department of Education is some kind of overbearing, intrusive monster, but that's what conservatives say. And Trump can't abolish the department completely, by the way. It takes 60 Senate votes to do that. Republicans have 53. But his education secretary, Linda McMahon, has been tasked with hollowing it out, whittling it down to the bones, so there's really nothing left. That effort is well underway. McMahon, by the way, has no education background, never been a teacher, a school administrator, nothing like that, but she did spend decades as a wrestling promoter. That's how she came into Trump's orbit. In fact, Trump loves wrestling so much he was inducted into the WWE's Hall of Fame a few years ago. How about that? Anyway, back to the dismantling of the Department of Education. I'll leave the ideological debate over states' rights and all that to others, but here's the part where red states and Trump supporters could pay a price. Here's why. I mentioned that the Department of Education provides only about 14% of all K through 12 funding nationwide, just about 14%. As little as that is, it represents a much bigger portion of what red states spend on educating their kids. For example, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Arizona, Kentucky, North Carolina could see about a fifth of their school budgets vanish. And Arkansas, Alaska, Montana, South Dakota, and Mississippi, even more. Gone. A lot of the spending is for students in low-income families and for students with disabilities. They're the ones who could pay the price. What's interesting here is that every single one of those states I just mentioned that could bear the brunt of a spending cutoff is a red state that voted for Trump. Now he's cutting off a huge source of their education funding. So to make up for this lack of funding, red states may have some tough choices to make, either raise taxes for schools, cut spending and services elsewhere, or make layoffs. All this reminds me of a phrase, be careful what you wish for.